In this week's drive, we celebrate with a record-breaking world champion, get on track with a downhill skiing champion, see what's new from the prancing horse, and go racing lawnmowers again. All this and more in this week's Drive. The Ferrari Formula One team left the Hungarian Grand Prix as the 2004 Constructors' Champions. The team's drivers, Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello, had scored an unassailable 202 points over Renault with 5 races remaining. As a result of the victory, all of Ferrari's employees celebrated with a party at the team's Fiorano test track. This was the team's 14th Constructors' Championship and their 6th consecutive Constructors' Championship after a 1-2 finish for Schumacher and Barrichello, their 7th of the season in Hungary. Schumacher and Barrichello made speeches in Italian to the assembled employees. Michael thanked everyone for their efforts. Rubens spoke about reaching a milestone in testing at the Fiorano track. And afterwards, Jean Todt reflected on the day, the championship, and how it had been won.
We've had a lot of success now for many years. I don't know what I can say. This year was the best so far. The feeling I have inside, I just want to say I love you all and thank you all. What can I say? When I reached 2,000 laps, I was the proudest, perhaps even prouder than Michael, who has set some of the fastest times. Every time I have been here, I've always been the winner.
All the top members of the teams, all the mechanics, all the people from the production, everybody was there in our track in Fiorano. It was like a kind of garden party. It was just relax and like a family day. And really it was a big emotion, but well deserved. The success was so big domination from Michael, from Rubens, on all the other competitors. And it was a fantastic tribute to the team, to Bridgestone, who is supporting us so well, particularly if you think of the Budapest Grand Prix the year before, where we were not very competitive, even if at the end of the year we could be manufacturers champion and Michael drivers champion. But I mean, this year has been fantastic, and we could concretize that in Budapest, and it's really a memorable day. It means great people, passion, motivation, involvement, long hours of work, and fantastic partners, fantastic people blowing in the same direction, and just being happy to have success together with Ferrari. And it's unbelievable. It's really writing a page of the story of Ferrari, even if the story of Ferrari is the best story in road cars, in motor racing, but this particular page, at least for me, is unique.
A week later, Michael clinched his 7th Drivers' World Championship at the Belgian Grand Prix with 2nd place, only the 2nd time he hasn't won in 14 races this year. By claiming another 14 points, Scuderia Ferrari moved even further away from Renault. How big the gap will be by the end of the year is merely academic. Not far from the Spa-Francorchamps track in Schumacher's hometown of Kerpen, across the border in Germany, hundreds of loyal fans turned up to watch the race on television in the sunshine. There were anxious faces as the final laps were run, as Michael didn't improve on his 2nd place and Kimi Räikkönen won for McLaren for the first time in over a year. But when the final results were announced, a floodgate of happiness was released. Although the Ferrari driver was unable to make it 13 wins out of 14 Grand Prix this season, The 8 points for second place put him exactly 40 points ahead of his teammate to seal his 7th world title. The Brazilian came back from a tough start to place 3rd. Schumacher's a legend in Germany, and local musicians have recorded a hit song about him. At the same time, the small northern Italian town of Maranello exploded in celebration too. The town has been the home of Ferrari since the 1940s. It's Schumacher's 5th straight championship with Ferrari and his 7th personal title. The Belgian Grand Prix was the 700th Grand Prix in which a Ferrari was entered, and it was Michael's 208th start. His very first race was at Spa in 1991 with Jordan, and his first win came at the track a year later in a Benetton. The win in Hungary was his 82nd victory. Michael has only one more record to set in Formula One, the highest number of pole positions claimed. The late Brazilian ace, Ayrton Senna, started from pole 65 times. Michael has done so 62 times. The local priest continued the long-standing tradition of ringing the church bells to mark Ferrari victories.
My thoughts go to all those who worked behind the scenes, from the president of Ferrari to the mechanics, to all those up to Schumacher. He is the tip of the iceberg.
Some people are already wondering when the German will retire, but such thoughts were far from the minds of fans as they celebrated late into the evening. Between races, Michael found the time to play in a fundraising soccer game in Belgium. Schumacher, a regular and enthusiastic soccer player, lined up in an all-stars for children team, including ex-Formula One drivers Ivan Capelli and Riccardo Patrese. They played against a team of Belgian personalities led by former national goalkeeper Jean-Marie Pfaff and including motocross champion Stefan Everts.
Schumacher is the best.
Half of the proceeds of the match, which totaled about 120,000 euros, went to Child Focus, a Belgian organisation which cares for children who have suffered from abuse. Jean-Denis Lejeune, who is the founding father of Child Focus, also participated in the game. The other half of the funds were donated to cancer sufferers via UNESCO. Michael is a UNESCO ambassador. The event attracted 12,000 spectators who braved rain to admire Schumacher's soccer skills. They weren't disappointed as the German quickly opened the scoring. Michael once said that if he wasn't a world champion racing driver, he would have considered a career as a professional footballer, although he did admit that he wasn't good enough for the Premier League. Later on, the Ferrari driver popped another shot into the net to the delight of the spectators. Eventually, the drivers' team won the event 6-2, but Michael didn't lose sight of the reason for the game.
We had a lot of fun with this game, but the most important thing is what we can achieve for the children. In this way, we have twice the benefit.
Having fun, raising money for good causes, and a record 7th world title all in the space of a few days, that was a busy week. The stands were packed with spectators for the GFS Marketplace 400.
turn 4.
There were several yellow flag caution periods in the race. The third caution flag of the day came out on lap 45 because of debris on the track. One of the cars had dropped a small but very solid piece out on the circuit.
Somebody just hit it. Check it out.
Carl Long spun out and his slide brought out the sixth caution flag of the day. Long was able to keep the car from crashing into the wall despite having two flat tyres.
Carl did a pretty good job off that inside wall.
The eighth caution flag of the day was shown on lap 98 of the 200-lap race after Kurt Busch also spun towards the inside wall. By keeping his foot down, Busch was able to regain control of the car and get back onto the track. Elliott Sadler suffered front-end damage that resulted in the ninth caution period of the race, tying the race record. Sadler didn't hit anything, but his left front tyre went flat and shredded, destroying the front mudguard.
I'd say that's pretty much taken off.
Greg Biffle was both skillful and lucky as he avoided both debris and other people's crashes on the way to victory. It was his first win in the last 42 races and the second of his NASCAR career. Biffle pulled steadily away from Mark Martin's Taurus in the closing laps, beating his Roush Racing teammate to the finish line by 8.2 seconds. Biffle led for the most laps, 73, and he won despite starting from 24th position. There are only 3 more races remaining before the field is set for the chase for the Cup, with the top 10 drivers in the standings racing over the last 10 events for the title.
Hello, I'm Luc Alphand. They call me the wild dog because they think I'm crazy.
And maybe they're right. Luc is an entrant in the one-make event for new Minis, being held as a supporting race at selected rounds for the DTM series in Europe. This race was at the Oschersleben in Germany. The cars are 200 brake horsepower, race-prepared Motorsport Club Sport S models. With the stripped-out interior and racing on slick tyres, the Mini Challenge car will have a more race-specific appearance than the road-legal Challenge S, which can still be driven to and from the circuit. Run over 7 race weekends at some of Europe's top motorsport events and venues, the Mini Challenge looks set to emulate the fun and full grid formula of the John Cooper Challenge, which is run in the UK. The series started alongside the German touring cars at the Euro Speedway in Lausitz, before providing a curtain raiser for crowds at the Nürburgring 24-hour. Later in the season, the race-prepared Minis will line up as part of Formula One race weekends, and then the European Touring Car Championship back at Oschersleben. Mike Cooper, managing director of John Cooper Motors, who developed the racing version, explained that the small company had worked very closely with Mini Germany on all the details of the challenge. Competitors buy an all-inclusive and affordable package, which includes technical and administrative support, catering throughout the race weekend, and much more. There's been a lot of interest from other countries in what has been done in Germany, and they expect more than one to follow next year. And if you thought this was just a nursery category, or only for celebrities, rich kids and talentless wannabes, watch as Luc is edged off the track, recovers, slides, saves a spin, and then lights up the front tyres as he fights to get back in the race. One of his rivals is Cora Schumacher, wife of BMW Williams Formula One driver Ralph, and sister-in-law to that man Michael. Despite Ralph being booked off work with a back injury after his Indy crash, Cora has entered for all of the Mini races. At least she has some expert teachers in the family. As well as filling this grid, Minis also appear in a number of other fledgling racing series, including championships in Belgium, Bahrain and Scotland, and a street race in South Africa. However, the Mini Challenge has been designed to establish an easy-to-follow template for other markets to adopt. After the race, the 10-times world skiing champion was happy with his 9th place finish and collection of dents. He pronounced the race a great deal of fun and revealed in 4 languages why.
Ich liebe Geschwindigkeit, j'aime la vitesse, mi piace la velocità, I love speed, and jag älskar åka fort.
And away from the racetrack, but staying with the Mini, how's this for taking things to extremes? The BMW-owned British brand is taking the craze for personalisation to great lengths with the launch of a 6-metre-long limo called the Mini XXL, which made its world premiere in Athens recently. The 6-wheel, 4-door, 6-seater stretch Mini was built by a specialist coach builder in Los Angeles. Well, where else would you expect to find an English limousine but the Hotel Great Britain? Following its stay in Athens, the Mini XXL will set out on a tour around Europe and parts of Asia, where it'll be the star attraction at various events.
The Mini Galea Club is definitely one of the night highlights you have to visit in Athens, and therefore Mini said, we have to be here. We started with the world premiere of the XXL, then have some music events, and then we have a lot of prominent people joining at one of a big event. Mini and clubbing, Mini and music was always one world. We did a lot of events and do a lot of events with MTV, the Mini Clubbing Tour, and we do other music events all over the world. So we said this definitely fits the Mini Galea Club and the music and Mini, that's a perfect fit. What is the definite goal to build this car? I think there are two reasons. The one is that we use it for events, for interviews all over the world, in Europe, Asia, and United States. But the other is that we can demonstrate that Mini knows no boundaries. The car is an enormous car, 6.30 meters long, 3 axes, 4 seats in the middle, 2 in the front, flat screen with DVD and all sound systems you wish, and as a highlight, in the back a jacuzzi. I tell you, it's very comfortable, you enjoy the view, and in case you wish to have a bath, you can jump into the pool.
It's hard to imagine that a Cooper S could be transformed into a vehicle like this. The conversion was performed by Ultra in Los Angeles, renowned for their radical designs. This conversion involves 2 extensions, one behind the front door and one behind the rear door, the addition of rear doors and a tail extension. The extra weight and lengthened body are supported by an additional rear axle that has 2 extra wheels. There's no doubt that the XXL is heavier than your average Cooper, so the car has been fitted with a works tuning kit developed by John Cooper. Larger supercharger pulleys, upgraded manifolds, a freer-flowing exhaust system and other bolt-ons boost power to 200 horsepower, up from 163. It's a little hard to believe that the 1.6-litre engine is up to moving the 6.3-metre-long limousine. While BMW doesn't plan to mass-produce the limo, there are proposals for a variety of new models to expand the present 2-body-style lineup. Hints have come from the coach builders such as Castana with their traveller-style Mini wagon, as well as from former owner Austin and the Past with a long-wheelbase 5-door inspired by the Maxi. These cars could appear within 5 years. Ferrari has revealed the latest incarnation of its entry-level V8 Coupe, which was expected to be just a cosmetic facelift of the popular 360 Modena, but it's much more.
It has this special taste and this step further. When you saw the 360 Modena, it was already a beautiful car. But if you see this one, it's such a great evolution. It's just beautiful to watch.
The engine is a lighter, more compact Maserati-based 4.3-litre V8, and the F430 boasts an electronic differential and a steering wheel-mounted control for vehicle dynamics, known to Ferrari's Formula One drivers as Manettino. Today, the definition of luxury is sometimes hard to pin down, especially in the car market. There are ultra-luxury, mid-luxury, entry-luxury cars, even truck-based luxury. Consumers now expect luxury in all shapes and sizes, but it wasn't always the case.
It used to just be a vehicle that had windows, power locks, tilt-wheel cruise control, some leather, wood grain. Could be a luxury car. Nowadays, we see entry-level cars from Korea equipped this way. Car really has to have the appropriate power, has to have the appropriate drive, feel to the road, be very comfortable on the inside, a wonderful sound system, but be quiet on the interior. a lot of other attributes that really make a car luxurious.
Technology has always defined luxury. Features you may never have imagined you'd get in a vehicle were first seen in luxury cars. From air conditioning to GPS navigation, DVDs and flat-screen televisions. And the latest models are no exception. For instance, the new Cadillac STS.
From 200 feet away, you can remote start the car by the depression of this button on the fob. The vehicle's secured, but while it runs, we use the other sensors in the vehicle to determine that it's hot out, and we'd like to cool the car down. So we're able to begin to run air conditioning, to turn on the vented seats, or in a cold weather climate, we actually warm up the car, turn on your heated seats, defrost the rear window as you begin to approach the car.
Don't worry, the car cannot be put into gear until you and the key fob are in the pre-warmed or pre-cooled driver's seat. Now that's luxury you could get used to. The rolling lawns of the Brinsbury campus in Pulborough, West Sussex, were the location for the 2004 Weapons of Grass Destruction 12-hour lawnmower race starting one recent Saturday evening. This endurance race was in honour of Jim Gavin. The motor consultant and now lawnmower racing guru was complaining about the cost of taking part in motorsport after returning from a rally in 1973. His thoughts turned to alternative forms of motor racing. The main criteria was to be competitive, lots of fun and cheap. Such motor racing luminaries as Sir Stirling Moss were attracted to the sport by the club atmosphere, and the first 12-hour lawnmower race was held in 1978. This year's race was dubbed the Weapons of Grass Destruction, the most prestigious race of the lawnmower racing calendar. The Le Mans-style start increased the drama, and everyone fought for an early lead. 3 different classes of lawnmowers raced, and the overall trophy is awarded to the team completing the most laps or distance during the race. The Ferraris or McLarens of this sport have names more often associated by the layman with garden centres: Atco, Webb and Westwood. For obvious safety reasons, all the blades are removed and each team has 3 drivers who swap periodically, just like at Le Mans. There's also a pit lane where teams refuel and carry out the inevitable repairs. As dusk turned to night, the mowers continued to race around the circuit, which became increasingly hard and bumpy. Periodically, the track was watered to try and keep the dust down, while the pit lane became a hive of activity as mowers came in for refueling and driver changeovers. All night, the 35 teams battled over the dusty 1.2-kilometre course. Flames inside a hot air balloon eerily lit up the track. After a gruelling night, dawn broke, as had many of the machines, and the sunrise gave way to a glorious morning. Amazingly, most of the mowers were still in the race as 8 o'clock and the checkered flag approached. The Cupid Stunts team, appropriately racing with the number 1 plate, took the checkered flag, having completed 286 miles, and their skipper, Colin Clegg, who'd proudly ridden over the finish line after taking his seat at the final changeover, explained the appeal of lawnmower racing.
Obviously everyone would love to do rallying, Formula One, but if you haven't got the money, it's the next best thing. I've not seen one person get off of one of these with that big grin on their face.
All that was left to do was to complete a lap of honour with a trophy and then rest those weary backsides. So, whether you're having a kick around with some mates, taking a bath in the street, or just getting to know your new car, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.